Key point 1. Start your spiritual journey now. Years ago, Pema Chödrön took a year-long sabbatical, a complete break from work, rules, and obligations. On the surface, it was a time of no apparent achievements or concrete schedule, but deep down, it was the most spiritual time of her life. She filled her days with endless walks, reading, sleeping, and writing. That's when she finally had time to delve into the piles of transcriptions she had lying around for 10 years. These bits and pieces contained all the valuable knowledge and unedited thoughts she shared with those on her spiritual journey. As she immersed herself in the words, she realized something interesting. There was a pattern. Pema always preached cultivating compassion toward yourself and others, appreciating the impermanence of things, and fully awakening to your purpose. All these became the foundation of the work you'll now uncover, gathering the essential knowledge you'll need to live a more conscious life despite all its hardships. How do we deal with loss, loneliness, and fear? What do we do when everything seems to be falling apart? Pema has repeatedly asked these questions too. The end of a marriage she thought would last forever, the loss of ground under her feet, the never-ending quest to understand who she is. She experienced all this herself, basing her advice on years of Buddhist teachings and life in monasteries. She shares the eternal wisdom applicable to everyone at any stage. Buddhism offers an alternative way of looking at things and has profound life-changing potential. If you're experiencing stress, chaos, or restlessness, Pema tailors her advice for you. Dive in to learn sacred knowledge that will help you change the harmful habits of your mind and transform your life. Key point 2. When everything falls apart, what do? It all fell apart for Pema when her husband confessed his infidelity and demanded a divorce. It was like watching her life crumble in a slow-mo scene. Against all her expectations of happily ever after, her marriage didn't exist anymore, and she had to build herself anew. Pema wanted to return to the previous page and regain the ground under her feet so hard, but all attempts were futile. She was puzzled and angry with life and didn't know what to do or how to proceed. And that's when Pema discovered Buddhism. Gampo Abbey, a remote monastery, was the site of her first radical spiritual growth. No means of escaping from reality were allowed there, including lying, alcohol, or sex. And when she had nowhere to run, there was no other option but to face herself. All her usual defenses and illusions, the people-pleasing, the good girl image, the blaming of others for her hardships, fell apart. To remold herself, she had to let everything go. Having nothing to hold on to was terrifying, but she had two choices. One, shut down due to the hurt and turn bitter, anxious, and resentful. Two, stay in touch with reality and let the pain flow through her. Pema chose to sit with the shakiness of her broken heart and uncovered the path of true awakening. She could see how many people around her were running away from their pain daily, whether through addictions, buying new things, or escaping into the fantasy world of endless entertainment. Things falling apart is a kind of testing and also a kind of healing. The healing comes from letting there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. Pema Chödrön. Most people hate and reject these experiences whenever presented with loss or uncertainty. They do everything to distance themselves but never learn or perceive them as teachings. In reality, such hardships give us a unique opportunity to open our hearts even more. You choose whether to see them as friends or enemies. What might seem like an arrow flying your way may unfold into a beautiful flower. Piercing pain can lead to becoming more kind, compassionate, and loving if we dare to leave the door open. Key point 3. What makes you suffer? Many mistake a spiritual journey as a path leading them to some higher, heavenly place where everything is good and stable. But this mindset is the very thing that keeps us trapped in suffering. Buddhists believe that samsara is the primary reason for human suffering. It's a hopeless cycle of seeking lasting pleasure or security and avoiding pain. Thinking that anything can last is one of the greatest illusions many cherish. We all attach ourselves to our little fairy tales. We can maintain our ideal physique indefinitely, or be with a loved one until death parts us. But impermanence is inseparable from our existence. We age, people come and go, we change jobs, and life's circumstances ebb and flow all the time. Unless we come to terms with it and accept it as part of our lives, we'll keep being miserable from things not working out as we expect. 4 pairs of opposites keep us stuck in this perpetual cycle of disappointment by seeking the one and avoiding the other. 1. Pleasure versus pain. 2. Praise versus criticism. 3. Fame versus shame. 4. Gain versus loss. By chasing or getting attached to one, we escape the other, forgetting that life is a coin that always has 2 sides. We fall into these swings, instantly happy when obtaining positive reinforcement and crushed by negative. By doing this, we ignore that both can be valuable and celebrated. Feeling good inspires us, while feeling down humbles us and teaches essential lessons on the fragility of life. Instead of mindlessly falling into these patterns, we should stop regarding one as a reward and the other as a punishment. Don't be afraid when the universe doesn't work out in your favor. Try to see everything as an uninterrupted, continuous flow of life. Just like the weather changes every season, so does our experience on this planet. Impermanence is integral to being human. Learn to recognize it every day. Did you know? Mindfulness is the best instrument to learn how to appreciate impermanence in your life. Whenever something doesn't go your way, notice your reaction to it. How does it make you feel? Angry? Sad? Bitter? Rather than falling into habitual responses, become aware and cultivate your curiosity about them. Key point 4. Encountering fear and loneliness. Starting on your spiritual journey, you must know you will get scared at some point. The fear should stem from the unexplored or unknown, as life's journey continually fosters personal transformation. However, don't despair. Feeling this emotion is a sign you're alive and having a universal human experience. A sense of groundlessness on the brink of something new can scare us away from going further. Fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. Pema Chödrön. Society thrives on escaping this emotion. Usually, we believe we should make it go away by smoothing over our negative emotions, treating ourselves, or finding distraction by any means possible. So we disassociate from our fears or start pretending they don't matter. However, life will inevitably present moments, like getting fired or losing loved ones, where we cannot hide from these fears but must confront them directly. Don't run away from it now. Move in closer. It often seems that brave people have no fear, but that's not true. In fact, they are closer to it, as it takes immense courage to face one's fears. When we don't repress our fears or shift responsibility onto others, we come face to face with our true feelings. Getting to know your fear is the only way to be fully present in life and stop falling into old behavior patterns. Loneliness is another feeling that challenges many and calls them to escape. Feeling lonely or hopeless is uncontrollable. We rarely want to just sit and feel it out. But the best thing you can do is stay still, experience it all, and see what comes out. There are several ways to battle our desire to flee from loneliness. 1. Appreciate the contentment of loneliness. When you have less, there's no fear of loss. 2. Don't give in to cravings. Even if everything in you is restless and craves to change your mood, do nothing and see what happens next. 3. Don't look for alternatives or something to comfort you. The first impulse is to look for a way out, anything that cheers you up so you don't feel pain. 4. Cultivate the discipline of staying present in the moment. Meditation is a great way to practice. Instead of going to extremes when encountering fear or loneliness, choose the middle ground and stay right where you are. Key point 5. Why your death is a blessing. What do we often hear when in despair or encountering something we cannot solve? People will tell us, "It'll be okay, get your hopes up," and many other similar phrases. While lifting our spirits for a short while, such beliefs can do more harm than good in the long run. That's how we get addicted to hoping and holding ourselves together, hating moments of doubt and uncertainty. We never learn how to find peace amid the ambiguity and constant change of the present moment. Instead, we cause ourselves additional stress by attempting to build protective walls around us. Hope is on the other side of fear, one more endless cycle that keeps us spinning in the wheel of samsara. By relying on our hopes, we always live in the future and never embrace the present. If you're beginning your spiritual journey hoping to get some ground under your feet, abandon this idea. Embrace hopelessness and learn to relax within the current moment as it is. It is your best teacher, constantly reminding you of everything that constitutes life and death. Many fear death as something distant and foreign, but it is ever present in our daily lives. Every time the night ends and the new day begins, with every breath we take, we are constantly engaged with it, whether we want it or not. When our relationships fall apart, our plans don't work out, or we panic, those moments are akin to dying and being reborn anew. The presence of death and hopelessness shouldn't make us despair, but motivate us to live a more fulfilling and compassionate life at this very moment. They remind us that there is no better time than now. We often prefer to look for alternatives and place our hopes in the distant future or the afterlife, ignoring that our time here is limited. This illusion keeps us from realizing the preciousness of our world and the life we already have. That's why we should fully commit to reality while we are here. Experience all there is. Don't hold anything back. Delay something until later, or look for ways to escape your life. And if it helps, stick an "Abandon Hope" sticker on your fridge as your constant reminder to fully live in the now. Key point 6. Let go of control. Living a Buddhist life is inseparable from prajna, a way of looking at the world without trying to build security, attachment, or gain ground. 5 actions can set us on the path to prajna. 1. Exercise generosity. In our increasingly materialistic world, we attach ourselves to things and are terrified of losing them. As a result, we focus on hoarding and not giving. But we can only transform our lives if we learn to let go and share from our hearts. 2. Stay disciplined. Discipline is the best antidote for being led astray by momentary moods and harmful thoughts. It helps us stay in touch with reality and connect with the moment. Maintaining discipline is not about instilling control, but being gentle and honest with ourselves at the same time. 3. Be patient. Exercising patience can help us deal with aggression and anger toward ourselves and others. That's how we learn not to act impulsively, but sit with our emotions and gain more awareness of our habitual reactions. 4. Meditate. Meditation is the most non-violent exercise we can do. This simple process helps us acknowledge and let go of our thoughts instead of running away from them. 5. Put in the effort. We should practice exertion to appreciate and accept whatever comes our way. With those 5 things, we can achieve a state of prajna. It's a blessed state of not trying to hold on, fight, or struggle with life. We can finally relax in prajna and let our path transform into one harmonious flow. However, many of us still freeze when encountering difficult situations. We never accept chaos as part of life, but as a deviation from the norm, ignoring that darkness and suffering are a part of the ordinary human experience. Once we acknowledge that suffering is integral to our lives, we can start by changing our attitude toward it. Instead of struggling with circumstances, emotions, and people, simply stop. Shift your perspective. Some Tibetan yogis viewed demons not as entities to eliminate, but to treat with compassion and an open heart. Try not to view your hardships as enemies so that you can see their true purpose. What you consider poison could be your best medicine. Allow it to fuel your path to enlightenment. Key point 7. Stop giving yourself a hard time. Let's say we embarked on our spiritual journey. We started studying ourselves with dedication and honesty and stopped escaping reality. We embrace it. We stay in the present moment. We meditate and look at our minds as they are. At some point, we might discover that something is still lacking. The last, final ingredient on our path is kindness. How we treat ourselves is essential to our spiritual awakening. Buddhists emphasize Maitri, the practice of growing a compassionate and kind attitude toward oneself. Sometimes we can judge ourselves more harshly than anyone else. We think it's too late to change anything or transform, and will always remain the way we are. Or we see ourselves as endless self-improvement projects, solving problems and attempting to become better than we were yesterday. But we forget the most crucial thing: to act with loving kindness and gentleness to ourselves. Developing an unconditional friendship with yourself is at the heart of building an honest and empathetic attitude toward everyone else. However, relating compassionately with others can be challenging, as we may have fallen into habitual patterns of causing harm to ourselves and others without even noticing. It means to stay open, not shut down or reject others. Because deep down, pushing others away means pushing away yourself. It's through accepting imperfections and all the seemingly dark, unwanted parts of ourselves that we learn to be compassionate as we are. Sometimes it's hard to restrain from instantly blaming others and finding rights or wrongs in them. That's how we prevent ourselves from genuinely communicating, pushing each other away to protect ourselves from hurt and heartbreak. But there's another middle way. Becoming more gentle to ourselves softens us, so protective shields between ourselves and others are no longer necessary. Consciously growing compassion for others is another practice you can use. How often do we turn away when we see someone suffering, such as a stranger in pain, a homeless person, or a crying friend? It can make us feel uncomfortable, puzzled, and unsure of what to do or how to help. By shielding ourselves from suffering, we become more hardened and enclosed from others. But try to face the vulnerability of the human condition and find kinship with this person's suffering. Breathe in their pain and breathe out relief to whoever needs it. Awaken the compassion in you to relate to them and the whole of humankind, living through their interchangeably wonderful and painful human experience. Conclusion. There are many ways we put ourselves to sleep in our modern reality. Endless sources of entertainment, growing materialism, and infinite means to escape from reality are accessible to all of us like never before. We chase constant pleasure and avoid pain and suffering. Reality hits us sooner or later, making us tremble, shake in fear, and lose our ground. In moments like these, everything falls apart. Humankind has forgotten that our existence is a coin of two sides ever flowing into each other, just like the change of seasons throughout the year. Our experience on Earth is impermanent and marked by constant change, from growing up to inviting new people into our lives. We die and feel reborn daily, even if we don't care enough to notice. We experience loneliness and fear just like everyone else. The key is not running away from it, but moving closer to embracing everything that constitutes life. Accept the doubt and uncertainty. It's the only way to embrace the now and live the most fulfilled life at any given moment. Practicing loving kindness toward yourself and others remains the key. Instead of criticizing or blaming, gently stop yourself and choose compassion. Try this. Explore your relationship with loneliness. What do you usually do to distract yourself from it? Analyze your reaction and embrace this feeling rather than escape it. Impermanence is integral to being human. What are the little examples of impermanence in your life? Daily, weekly, yearly? Try to introduce daily meditation practices. Start with just 5 minutes a day, noticing the thoughts and emotions arising. Acknowledge, let them go, and continue the practice. Spot your habitual patterns. How do you react to others and situations of uncertainty or doubt? Next time, act differently and see how it makes you feel.